Hey guys, what's up? This is Patrick, and in this video we're going to be playing 2 tables of Russian cash, and I'm actually pretty excited to play today. I don't have a lot of time, so I can't really table select any decent games at any reasonable stakes, but yeah, like these Russian cash games are obviously very nice because you can just play whenever you want, and so we'll just do that. I have no idea how to play these. I don't think it's basically possible to solve with all the different factors. Like obviously you have some preflop ranges in GTO Wizard, but I'm imagining things will get very fluid very quickly when one player isn't playing those ranges perfectly, and then quite likely we will always end up in a situation like that. So I think it ends up being more of a street poker type thing. Here on the left we opened 2x and we get 2 calls. I think we just start off with a check here with a hand that's pretty much in the middle of our range, slightly above it, but in terms of like our betting frequency is going to be relatively low versus 2 players because they share the burden of defense, so they can defend a bit tighter, and therefore our value threshold with betting goes up a bit. Versus 1 player on the turn, he might be able to delayed c-bet something like a decent jack, queens plus or something like that. Versus 2 players, you need a strong king, just to give you an idea of what that looks like. Versus, this feels like a regular. If this is a regular, then I need to fold. I think if this is recreational, I need to call. I don't have any additional information here, so I'll just assume it's regular and move on. On the right, versus min, we get a call with 9-8 offsuit. We get a quick check back on an ace high texture. This is not a texture where villains should be range betting on because of the connectivity with the 5 and the 3. On the turn here, we still need to go fairly polar. I'm betting like 25 to 30% of the times, I imagine. This definitely doesn't make it in there. It's going to be very strong aces and better. And then sometimes we need to check better as well. Like it's something that's easily forgotten. If you have pocket 9s or pocket 3s or pocket 5s, then you'd need to make sure that you check those in order to have a sufficient check raising range. Another thing that you could think of is just check your entire range and wish him good luck with his betting frequency. You're losing a little bit of EV, but I think on an ace-high texture it's a reasonable simplification usually, unless like there's like a flush closing, something like that. And here my opponent checks back. This is noteworthy, I think, to at least note that he's not out of bluffing those spots. And given the fact that he's Brazilian, I think would make me want to note it even more, because generally those Brazilian guys are going to find bluffs on the river quite consistently. Here on 8-3 deuce we go with a polar sizing and a check, betting relatively often I think, and so ace queen is just going to make it in there somewhat often as well. We have a reasonable amount of checks, but we just need to defend occasionally with ace queen here. I'm not going to bet too often versus Gary because I don't think he will overfold versus me. 10 is interesting. On the jack I think we range bet. On the right we go ahead and check call. I think we could bet, but either way is fine. I think I'll go ahead and check versus Gary. If he bets, I'm probably just going to fold. It would be indifferent at best with ace queen here if he bets, so I think we can just fold. He can have better, like he can semi bluff ace king for instance. And here on the river this is an interesting spot, so I'm going to have aces, kings, queens at some frequency, pocket 10s, and then I need some bluffs. I don't think I'm going to bluff versus Gary though. I don't think he will overfold. This is probably a fold versus recreational, but yeah. Yeah. And we split versus ace queen. A pretty standard 3-bet versus Ryan. I think Ryan will be finding enough 4-bets. He seems like the type of guy that would. And so we are just going to shove. Yeah, I was already counting on him, especially with like me timing down a bit. I think it's a bit more likely that we get the 4-bet by a guy like this. Obviously he could still have the top of his range as well. Oh, we get a snap call. That's generally not good. Okay, I can live with that. If we like get an ace here, do we win the jackpot? Not sure. Like you need to lose. I guess you win. Like you need to lose, but I don't think it works like that. You need to lose with ace is full of jacks, I think. A cutoff opening, we're on the button, we 3-bet more, and then the other two players are going to scoop some of the EV that we would be getting. Not even by changing their strategy, but just by playing more a balanced strategy. Because we play an unbalanced strategy, they are going to increase their EV slightly. So we gain some EV versus the cutoff, but we lose some EV versus small blind and big blind. Here I 3-bet, I get like a million cold calls. I guess I fold. It seems reasonable enough to me. Here we are playing versus a recreational, and this is gross. 48 VPIP of his. I'm just going to click call. Like it's just I have a pair versus 48 VPIP. It's really gross when they pull it. I might get flamed in the comment section. I'm pretty sure I will. But 48 VPIP is just a lot of random stuff in there. The fact that he doesn't bet the river is just beyond me. He can get value from every ace and apparently every 7 as well. I ISO'd here. I think I just want to check on this texture though. With king queen, play like a mix, and then on the turn we are going to call. If we have like king 10, king jack, then we are going to raise a reasonable amount. Here it's a bit closer. I think we just call, but raising would be okay as well. And here I think we just want to raise now. And I'm not going to raise very large, just relatively small to make him fold anything that is not an 8. Multi-way with ace 8 here. I am just going to check. I think, like I said earlier in this session, when we are multi-way, your value betting threshold increases. So heads up, you could range bet here. Multi-way you can't, because villain is not going to call. He shouldn't really be calling, I don't know, like pocket 8s or pocket 6s here versus a small bet, because they share the burden of defense between the two. This is an interesting spot. This is a recreational. This is likely a recreational, but a lot more nitty. I think we got a call, but it's already very close. And I'm not going to value bet here. I think when the board is this complicated with an ace, it is relatively tempting to just bet like 3 big blinds. I don't think they'll have, there's like some jack 10, I guess, queen jack that might want to call. Can I just like, I'm just going to check, it's close. Yeah, maybe. I was thinking like if I just do ace 10 and better, then it would be reasonable. But maybe I can just go and bet very small and just squeeze out 1 or 2 calls too many. The guy seems to be 3-betting quite aggressively over a small sample, so I think I'm going to call here. He actually over 3-bets over this sample, so something to take into consideration. And we call here. Here I'm just going to raise, I think, blocking some value. We have some equity. And the pool was betting too often, although here he's probably allowed to range bet. We want to keep barreling. On that side I'm block betting because I block some calls. And here I think I'll check. I think checking is reasonable here. And I think river I check, and sometimes we split, so that should be good. He was definitely 3-betting a bit too wide there. So again, if I was playing this pool regularly, I would make a note and 4-bet him to death. Flopped ace set. I'm just going to block bet small because this seems like a recreational and they tend to go haywire versus a small bet. So if I check here, then they're going to be betting too often. Doesn't mean that he's betting this time, right? But they're betting significantly too often, which is going to be good. I think on the river here, I actually want to check because I want to go check raise all in versus a jack and potentially versus an ace. So just checking seems reasonable. Like obviously he's going to check back something pocket 8s here. But that's fine. Like if I bet small, for instance, I get called by pocket 8s, but he's not going to value raise thin enough or like raise thin enough regardless. So I don't really want to do that. I think just going check raise all in is going to be the play there because they overcall quite massively after they bet in position on the river, especially versus larger check raises. And my hand is going to be an okay check anyway, I think, versus the player type. I think we just barrel here, like it's probably okay. But 5s. It's an okay check on the river because we block some checkbacks, right? So like if we go here, he is going to have some 6-5, some 7-5, king 5 type hands that are going to check back the river. We block those now, so we make it a bit more likely that he has one of his betting hands. Either stronger pairs or sometimes air type hands that might want to bluff the river now. If I shove here, I think I'm just going to go and use this sizing. It's kind of weird because he should be calling, if I go this sizing, he should be calling some kings. I don't think I'm likely to get an awful lot of calls with kings there. So I think just betting it is reasonable. Also, I block some of the more common best aces that he can have, offsuited aces. So I think probably Jack 10 is a bit better because Ace Queen offsuit is going to 3-bet sometimes here. But overall, cutoff for his big blind, Queen Jack is definitely going to be mixing in there on the river. So I think it's fine to just find the bet there. Gotta check, not even the top of my range here, but no, scratch that. Sorry. I don't think that will be useful to comment on now after burping a little bit. So I'll just leave this, I guess. So on the right side here, we get a small bet, which probably isn't as much of a thing here. I think we just go ahead and raise relatively large and just try to get as much of the money in as possible. That's an interesting turn. I think we will be able to barrel relatively often on this. As we do make some 2 pairs. Our hand could check sometimes as well, I guess, but I think I'm just going to barrel and potentially slightly underprotect by checking range there. He really shouldn't have any sets. There's going to be some 2 pairs, but mostly I think we'll just have 1 pair hands and draws. So I think just betting makes sense. This is an interesting spot, I think. In Equilibrium we should have checks with flushes, and I imagine that something like this would make it into a checking range occasionally. The player type seems to be not putting an awful lot of money into the pots in general, so I think I'm just going to put it in myself and just underprotect my checking range and probably just even overfold. And when we get a check call, I think I just essentially have the nuts versus the player type, and I'm just going to go overbet and probably bet the river quite large as well. Although probably not all in. Like I think if I just go with an overbet and a large bet on the river, then we can still get called by 2 pairs and some occasional 1 pair type hands with a, let's say he has like the ace of spades here or something like that. Ace jack with the ace of spades, he might call the turn and then call the river as well. That's reasonable. On the left, I am going to go ahead and range bet. Someone behind me that's 3-betting reasonably often, small-ish sample, but I think I want to decide based on that whether I'm going to cold call. Generally I would lean towards cold calling. This is a very interesting turn. I think it's just so tempting to go ahead and raise here. No, I'm actually going to call. I'm going to call here, I think. He's going to have aces for sure. He's going to have some 8x, but he's going to have some underpairs as well. And I think this is the player type that would find those underpairs. And here, kind of a gross spot versus this guy. Like having the 9 of hearts isn't ideal. I think I'm going to call versus him though. It seems pretty aggro. Like it's kind of close here whether we can call with his hand, but I think he's going to find the underpairs that he needs to find here in order for this to be profitable. Or queen 10, apparently. My hand is never good, that's for sure. The question is, can I raise profitably? I think people are going to read into them using the sizing a bit too much and might end up not overfolding as I would expect them to do. If they bet like half fold or 3/4 or something like that. Yeah, this is pretty wide to defend there. But I think I get to leverage this hot spot quite often. I'm just going to go with a very large overbet, I think. As I don't think they're checking back a queen ever. They should sometimes. Wow. Is he checking back a queen? It feels like I'm getting bluffed here. Like really? What is he wrapping, right? A queen, I guess, that checks back? He's going to have like a shitload of offsuited queens and he's going to sometimes check them back, obviously. It's so tempting to just shove it in, but yeah, I'm not sure what that means. Queen jack, I guess. If he was bluffing, then GG. Good for him. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions, comments, drop it down in the comments section down below. I would appreciate a like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. There's also a link to our Discord server, so feel free to join that. And for now, if you're playing today, good luck at the tables and talk to you guys soon. Bye.